Hey everyone, just give me 1 second, I'll get my water bottle. We're gonna have a discussion with 1 second. All right, we're gonna have a discussion with Dr. Nikhil. Let me add him here. DRNI 14. Have invited him. And hello everyone. Hope you guys are doing well. Okay, we have Dr. Nikhil here. Hi, Dr. Nikhil. How are
Hi.
you?
Hi, good evening. I'm good. How are you?
Good. Looks like we both had a haircut over the weekend.
Yeah.
Okay, awesome. All right, so again, this is a follow-up discussion. We had a discussion last time, and I was traveling, and we had some email exchanges, and Dr. Nikhil wanted to have another debate, so I said, fine, let's do it. So today's discussion, hopefully, we'll stick to a lot more data, and ball is in your court, sir. We can start this discussion now.
Right. Okay, so just I just want to check if my screen. Okay. Yeah. So hi, good evening, everyone. As JC introduced, today we will be discussing about HPV vaccines and cancer, cervical cancer once again. Last session was on 26th March and it was quite good. I thought it must have helped people. And a lot of things we established in that session. I'll quickly go on that and take on from there. So I'll show you my screen. Is this visible properly?
Maybe you can read it out, sir.
Yeah, I will read it out. And please again, don't call me sir. We are all same here. Okay, yeah. So I hope my screen is visible, but I'll read it out. So based on the current available data in public domain, we were able to establish few things. First, most importantly, HPV infection is associated with approximately 83% of cervical cancers, not all, but 83%. HPV infection is associated with various other cancers also, like vulva, vagina, and because of oral sex, cancers of oral cavity, oropharynx, larynx, etc. HPV vaccines have proven to be very effective in reducing, not eliminating, the risk of cervical cancer if taken in early age or before first sexual intercourse. Many people mislead based on this fact that vaccines will not cure cervical cancer, or even after vaccines you can get cervical cancer, but that is absolutely misleading because vaccines are a preventive strategy. No preventive strategy eliminates your risk 100%. I mean, exercise and diet are one of the best preventive strategy, and they reduce your risk. They reduce your risk a lot, but even after that, you can get diseases. That is one thing. And compared to previous years, cervical cancer incidence is likely decreasing, and that is mostly because of improved genital hygiene, safer sexual habits, and improved vaccination rates. But when you see the data, incidence numbers are still higher now. Again, this fact is also used somehow, but the reason is in those years, cancer screening was very less, about only 1.9%. So if you don't screen enough, you won't find enough incidence. That is the major reason. But yes, compared to previous years, the incidence is actually decreasing, sorry. And still the burden of cervical cancer is very high. The latest data shared on 23rd March 2026 by Ministry of Health and Family Welfare, it shows that they screened around 8.7 crore women above age of 30. Again, not all, but 8.7 crore. And out of those, 93,000 were diagnosed with cervical cancer. So if you screen all the women, that is approximately 38 crore women above 30 years age, so the total numbers will be quite large. And this is the data provided by government. I mean, you can trust it or not. That's a different thing. So HPV vaccines are really important for reducing cervical cancer incidence, and almost all studies have shown very negligible major harms with these vaccines. But large meta-analysis, which we discussed last time, it showed quite significant harm possibility, and today I will discuss that. So uh, this was one study we discussed last time. This was a Swedish cohort, and according to the results of this study, uh, the NNT was told as 2200, which is actually 2128 if we take all the cases of cervical cancer in vaccinated group. But the important part is the cervical cancer vaccine, that is HPV vaccine, is actually uh, very effective or most effective when the vaccine is taken before first sexual intercourse, that is before age of 14, 15 or 17, I mean, accordingly. So in this study, if they study, I mean, they adjusted the data for women who took vaccine before age of 17 years. The risk reduction was 0.12. So if we take that into account, the NNT comes around 1100 something, which is again very, very good for a vaccine. And even with the figure of 1100, these women were studied or followed up to the age of 31 years. But cervical cancer incidence is highest in later ages like 40s or 50s. So if these women were followed up till the age of 40s and 50s, the NNT would have been even much lower than 1100. And I will, okay, tomorrow I will share all the links, whatever we will discuss today, in my Linktree account, which you can see by going on my Instagram profile. And I will share all these data. So that is one thing. And so now coming back to the last study, which showed significant harms. So this is the study, benefits and harms of HPV, done by Lars. So the study is very, very big. It is not possible to discuss the whole thing here. So for the ease of this discussion, I have downloaded the study from here. Let me show you this link. And I have marked important points. So I will show you that PDF. Before that, I want to show you one thing here itself. So if you go into this study, yeah. So after publishing this study, the authors of the study themselves made two protocol amendments in the study. And if you click on this link, you will go to this amendment. This is this one. So this document also I have downloaded, and I will go to both these documents now. Okay. So this is the downloaded protocol amendment, and I will post links to all these things done by Lars. So what they did is they didn't do like any research directly, but this was a meta-analysis in which they took all the studies of cervical HPV vaccine and they brought about inferences from that. But for this study, they took CSRs, that is case study reports, and in the case study reports which they got, there was no individual participant data. So what that means is whenever any study is done, the actual names of participants are not included there to prevent bias and to protect their identity. And people are given some identity markers like A1, A2, A3, something like that, so that you can identify the participants. So in these CSRs which they could get, there was no such participant data, and identifiers have been redacted. So consequently, we cannot in appropriate manner assess potential harms clustering, also in relation to time of onset. So whatever the harms they could get from this data, they could not determine whether the harm occurred immediately after the vaccine or 6 months after the vaccine, 2 weeks after the vaccine, or maybe 3 years or 4 years after the vaccine. So this is also important, because somebody takes a vaccine, and if they get any harm within a limited time, that can be attributed to the vaccine. But if somebody gets any symptom or any harm after say 2 to 3 years, that may be because of the vaccine, but very high chances it could be because of any other reason also. Next thing is, some of the harms of special interest are rare heterogeneous syndromes and diagnosis of exclusion. And the main harms they studied in this data were basically POTS and CRPS. CRPS is complex regional pain syndrome, and POTS is postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And these diagnoses are like diagnosis of exclusion. I mean, you don't say that if somebody has these and symptoms, the person is diagnosed with this POTS or CRPS. What is done actually is you will rule out every other possibility based on those symptoms, and if the person doesn't fits in any other diagnosis, then you will say, okay, this person has POTS or CRPS. That means that is what is diagnosis of exclusion, and obviously based on certain tests also. So they have written, thus it would be unlikely that these syndromes would have been identified and reported in the CSRs. So because of this limitation, none of these harms or these syndromes were actually reported in the CSRs. So they didn't have any proper data of the harm to circumvent that. What they did is they collected terms of symptoms in the study, and these were the basically common symptoms like headache, nausea, pyrexia, that is fever, dizziness, pruritus, the itching, urticaria, rash, erythema, syncope, dizziness, loss of consciousness. So if anybody who took the vaccine had these kinds of symptoms, uh, those were reported. And for this, what they did was, suppose somebody has headache, nausea, or these kinds of symptoms, they would classify them into a cluster. And if the symptoms match with the symptoms of POTS or CRPS, the person was labeled to be having those kinds of harms, that is POTS or CRPS, something like that. Now I'll go to the another PDF which I downloaded. Again, this one, benefits and harms. So in that they mentioned this. We discussed this last time. HPV vaccines reduce HPV related carcinoma, and according to their study, NNV was 387, which is again quite realistic. If you uh, study only the women who got vaccination before age of first intercourse, like 16, 17, in that range. And they mentioned that vaccines increase serious nervous system disorders, which I was telling you about, and I'll tell you in more details. And but the vaccines did not significantly increase fatal harms, that is, somebody died or not, or any serious harms. Okay. So yeah, 1 second. Okay. Is this visible, by the way?
Yeah, continue, sir.
Is it okay? So one more question is always raised, that none of the studies uh, measures if somebody got cervical cancer or not, but they only measure the lesions, sin 1, sin 2, sin 3 lesions. So the reason for that is, firstly, we know all lesions, sin 1, sin 2, sin 3, they will not turn into cervical cancer. This is very well established. But if somebody doesn't get those lesions, I mean, if a vaccine prevents those lesions, sin 1, sin 2, or sin 3, person will not also get cervical cancer, because it is very, very extremely rare that you can get a cervical cancer without getting sin 2, sin 3, or sin 1 lesions. So for that reason, these lesions are studied instead of cervical cancer. Second reason is that it takes at least 25, 30, 40 years to develop cervical cancer. And it is, I mean, not easily possible to continue study for that long And even if it has to be continued, the vaccinations actually started around 2006. So it will take at least 20, 30 years from 2006 to get some data on actual cervical cancers in most of the studies. And this third reason also, if somebody is diagnosed with SIN2 or SIN3 lesion, because of ethical reasons, those participants are offered proper cervical screening as well as treatment. Because if somebody is in a study and they get those lesions which have high probability of turning into cervical cancer, because of ethical reasons, the study authors, they can't let the people get the cervical cancer just for the sake of study. So they offer proper treatment to those participants also. That is also one important reason. So this is as mentioned here. Okay, now coming to this part about the harms. So there is a system called MEDRA, in which there are like if you report some harm like headache, dizziness, or whatever, then they can classify some terms based on those symptoms aggregated. Okay, okay, this person can be labeled as this or that. So these Lars and all use that method. And as you can read here, okay, I'll zoom it more. So Medra preferred terms dizziness, pain, and syncope were part of and therefore included in the Medra system organ class nervous system disorders. So there was no actually uh, uh, any nervous system disorder, but based on these symptoms, people were classified. Another problem with the study is because they didn't have any participant identifiers, so a participant could potentially be included more than once in a separate analysis. Example, if a participant experiences a serious headache and a serious headache and serious dizziness, the participant would be counted twice in the MEDRA system. So, generally, what is done is suppose there is a study of 10 participants, and one participant gets one symptom, and another participant gets two symptoms, and third one gets three symptoms. So total number of harm is calculated as 3 out of 10 because three participants got symptoms. But here they didn't have any participant data. So what they did is 1 plus 2 plus 3, that is 6. So instead of 3, they reported that 6 people got harms. That is one reason of that high NNH. Okay. And next thing is, and all this I am reading from their study itself. So the physician judged Medra preferred terms dizziness, postural, and pain in extremity to be definitely associated with POTS or CRPS. So somebody has postural dizziness, they were labeled to be having POTS. Somebody having pain in extremity labeled as CRPS. And again, two or more different Medra preferred term categories may include participant more than once in analysis. I'm just about to complete just few things more here. So yeah, HPV vaccines did not significantly increase fatal harms. HPV vaccines increased new onset back pain, but they also decreased new onset gynecological chlamydia infection, which is again a serious important infection. And here is the most important thing. Okay, this is the same. HPV vaccines increase serious nervous system disorders that was mentioned in the first introduction. So yeah, harms of special interest. Cases of anaphylaxis and syncope were evenly distributed in both study as well as control group. But there were no cases of chronic fatigue syndrome, complex regional pain syndrome, that is CRPS, Guillain-Barré syndrome, GBS, or postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. But there was one case of premature ovarian failure in HPV vaccine group. So they have themselves mentioned this very clearly that there was no case of any of these disorders in HPV vaccine group. And this is mentioned in table 9 also. I will show you this. So yeah, again, this is also very important. Our systemic review of 24 study reports with 95,000 participants showed that HPV vaccines within 4 years of follow-up decreased HPV-related carcinoma in situ, which have a high likelihood of progressing to cancer, and HPV-related treatment procedures. But vaccines also increased serious nervous system disorders by exploratory analysis, which I have already told you how they arrived at this conclusion. And this is very important. Younger participants who were those primarily intended to receive HPV vaccination, they were more protected against HPV-related neoplasia and had fewer fatal harms. And now let me show you the table 9. Okay, I think I missed that. Sorry, yeah. So this is the table 9 about benefits and harms. You can see CFS 0, 0 across here 0, CRPS all 0, GBS all 0, POTS premature ovarian failure only 1. So that is the data. There were some limitations of the study. Only 10 HPV related cancers occurred in the follow up periods, and extended follow up was not possible for 75% of the comparator participants as they were offered HPV vaccination at trial completion. And okay, this also included some people who were already infected with HPV, so the vaccines were not effective in them. And getting vaccination before sexual debut is likely to improve HPV vaccine benefits. But another thing is, in this study, they have given one remark, which is again very important. The analysis do not prove that HPV vaccine cause POTS and CRPS, but they too provide a signal which makes it important to carry out independent analysis based on complete data set. So based on all the available studies, there was no increased incidence of any neurological harms, but there is a limitation that they couldn't get all the study information, and maybe if studied further and if harms are explored more, there is a possibility of some harms. And even the information sheet of the vaccines also provide that some possibility of neurological harms or GBS is there, but it is very, very rare, and it is across all the vaccinations. If you study anything about POTS or CRPS or GBS, you will see that there are multiple causes for those things, and vaccinations are one of the causes, but very, very rare cause. One more important thing I saw in one study was that uh, uh, if somebody has already has any neurological disorder or harm, any girl who is going to be vaccinated, if they already have something, so the vaccines might trigger and worsen those things. So if you already have any sort of neurological disorder, definitely consult a neurologist before going for HPV vaccination or any vaccination. So that is one important message I could see. And okay, this is one few more things I want to show you about HPV. Okay, sorry. So this is POTS, and there are two important things about POTS. One is that okay, one second. These are the symptoms of POTS: dizziness, fainting, forgetfulness, palpitations, because the name itself contains tachycardia. So palpitations is also important symptom. Fatigue, nervousness, anxiousness, all these things. So if somebody has these kinds of symptoms, not all of them, but these kinds of symptoms, then they are assessed clinically as well as some tests are done, and then they might be diagnosed as POTS. And another thing is, mm, POTS is common in women age 15 to 50 years. So there is a possibility that the girl is already having POTS or these kinds of symptoms, because it is very common in that age group in women, and it just coincides with uh, HPV vaccination. But I'm not saying that this will be for all. Same is for CRPS. There are multiple symptoms, and pain is just one of them. So that is all about the harms. And if you want me to tell few more things about efficacy of the vaccines, there is this study by Parth Basu, and this study is from the cohort who were vaccinated initially in 2009. So a lot of people are saying that HPV vaccination study was done on tribal women where 7 girls died, and after that studies were stopped. So what happened is that new recruitments were stopped. That means the girls who already got vaccine, they were studied further, but no new girl was given the vaccine. And this study is based on the 10-year follow-up of those girls. So they measured CENTO lesions, and they assessed for uh, incident infection, that is getting infection with HPV at any time, and persistent infection, that is getting same HPV infection at least 10 months apart. And this is a table from this study, incident HPV infection, and in this efficacy was around 63% to 66%. But when they studied persistent infection, that is infection continued in the women, and efficacy was 95%, 93% in those values. So that is one study of the girls who already got the vaccination. And just last point, after that I will stop on vaccinations, HPV vaccine. This is an article by the same guy, Parth Basu, and this is a recent article in from 2024. Just one graph. So this is about efficacy of cervical vaccines. When will you see the results? So this is years, and these are the incidents. So after 25 years of vaccination, you will start seeing the results, and the results improvements will be more as the years pass. So I mean, that is all. Yeah. So your comments, please.
Sir, I have a lot of respect for you, but unfortunately, this is not a discussion. I'm sorry, I'm losing my patience. We started this
Okay.
debate like half an hour back. You literally took
Hmm.
half an hour to speak. Now,
Right.
I can't even keep a track of all the points you made.
You could have stopped me in between if you had to
That's very
mark me
so.
out at any
I don't
point.
look. I have a lot of respect for you.
It
Like
is
out
nothing
of
about
respect.
respect. It is nothing about respect. It is just about the facts. In last session also, I suppose you had respect, and in that session
I
also,
did, sir,
whenever you
and that's
wanted to,
precisely why I was again. Look, I have a lot of respect for you, and I was avoiding this discussion because the last session also it went on the same trajectory. You just go on and on and on,
you
and
you
I'm
you
sorry if
stopped
you're
me
not.
in last session multiple times. Anybody can go to the last session. It is still there on your profile. Wherever you had to, you stopped me. In this session also, you could have stopped me. So, anyways, so if there is something which I have told wrong, maybe you can point it out.
Sir, first of all, you spoke for 30 minutes. Okay, so
Yeah,
if you
because
have a
because you have been posting misinformation since at least 30 days on lots of things.
so you're taking a revenge for
No,
that by
not the revenge,
expecting
not
people.
the revenge. It will take time to inform people. I mean, what are the real facts?
I'm
Anyways, I mean,
perfectly fine.
no point in wasting
I'm
further
glad.
time.
I'm glad you got my platform. You came on my live and you presented
Sure.
everything. Maybe if that's what you intend to do, you can speak for another half an hour. I'll go pick my daughter. It's completely fine. You can use my platform to share
I
all
don't
that
need your
information.
platform. I don't need your platform. I just came live because a lot of misinformation was being spread, and I wanted your audience to see what are the things. That is all. If you didn't want that, you could have just, I mean, told me that you don't want to do the live. Anyways, I mean, you want to continue wasting time like this, or you want to speak, it's your choice.
Sure. I mean, why don't you continue? Why don't you continue? You have crossed my screen.
I have completed everything about HPV vaccines.
All right. So where's the randomized placebo-controlled trial? Where's the data that cervical cancer is killing these many people? Please find me that data.
I'm not saying about killing.
Where's the
I
data?
told this last time also.
Now, on
I
what
know there
basis
is
are you
not.
telling people that cervical cancer incidences are increasing in the country and we have to take urgent attention and we have to take these HPV vaccines? Where's the number of cervical cancer incidences? How many deaths? How many actual deaths? Tell me, how many actual deaths do we have?
I told this last time also. I'm telling this again now also. I don't
Can
know.
you, as a doctor, at least accept
Hmm.
the fact that we don't have mortality data for cervical cancer in the
Yes,
country?
absolutely. Not
So
just
if you
cervical
don't have the
cancer,
data,
not just
if you
cervical
don't have
cancer.
the data,
Almost for anything we don't have good enough data. But that doesn't mean that vaccines are not required. That doesn't mean cervical
let's
cancer
focus the
cases are
attention
not
on
there.
HPV vaccines. Let's focus attention on HPV vaccines. If you are
Right.
spending so much of time and
Yeah.
effort and money on spreading awareness, if these HPV vaccine manufacturers are having $500 million worth of contract with Gavi, which is having millions of billions of dollars of contract with Indian government, which is buying these vaccines with our tax-paying money, the least we ought to have is proper data on which you are basing this, that cervical
Right.
cancer is going up. You have 75,000 deaths. Where's that number coming from? Give me
I
that
showed
number.
data last time also. Let me
There's
show
no
the
data.
data
There's no
again.
data. I have filed RTI with ICMR and they've
Yes, I
replied
know.
back with Globocon data, which I have shared with you in the post. If you look at it, there is no data. The methodology, it says 2B and 3C. 2B is weighted average for incidences, 3C is no data. Zero
Okay.
mortality data.
So
On
this
what basis are
NCDIR
you saying
data.
75,000? No, on what basis are you saying 75,000 deaths are happening in the country because of cervical cancer?
Okay,
Give me the
so
base estimate.
first of all, I'm not talking about the deaths. I'm talking about the incidence and number of people
Even
getting
for
cervical cancer.
incidences, even for incidences,
Yes, for
even for
incidences, I
incidences,
showed the data last time.
if
I'll show you
16
data
out of
today.
28 registries, if 16 out of 28 registries are showing
Okay.
declining trends, if they are showing declining trends, yes, go in
So
the
here's the
space,
data for
go above.
everybody. Here's the
Go where
data
the
for every.
registries are showing declining trends. Go where the registries are showing declining trends.
I
Go
told
to
you
the
this
page.
last time also. I'll show you. I'll show that. No problem in
Yeah,
that. I'll show.
yeah.
The declining trend is because of, I mentioned in beginning of the session also, there were no screenings in those times when the incidence was shown. And yes, I mentioned this very
Then
clearly in
why are
beginning
there
also.
declining trends?
I
Then
mean,
why are the declining trends?
either you were not listening at all. I mean, you were not interested. But I mentioned this today also. Initially, the number of cases were less because cervical cancer screening was just 1.9%. But now, even if the incidence, actually the number of cases are reducing. I'll come to that data.
Very
I'll come to
commonsensical
that
thing. When
data.
you screen more
Okay,
people,
this
you have
you're talking about this, right?
yes.
So I showed this last
Please
time also.
read out for people. Read out for people and explain them what
I
it means.
Okay, so let me read it out again. Let me show you the slide again. This one I showed in the beginning, and if somebody is watching since beginning, or maybe they can go on to this later on again. Yes, HPV vaccines. Okay, I'll go to that slide also. But before, let me show you what told in the beginning. Maybe you were not paying enough attention
I'm
because
paying
you
attention,
have.
sir. I'm paying attention. I'm asking you very simple questions for which you are not answering. You're going round and round in circles.
I answered. I'm answering you again.
I have
Please
a very
listen.
simple question to you.
Please listen. I'm answering you. So compared to previous years, cervical cancer incidence is likely decreasing. Very clearly mentioned here. Very clearly, I spoke about this. that the cancer incidence is actually decreasing. So just for an example, I'm not stating exact figures, but just for an example, suppose in 2016, 10 people were getting cervical cancer. Today, number of people getting cervical cancer would be 8, right?
First of all, we don't have
But
data for
still,
today. The data that you're referring for, the registry data is from 2012 to 16. We don't have data from 2017 onwards. So they're referring to 2012 to 16 data.
this data is from
Yes, that is so.
2026.
No, no. Which
This one
data?
is
No, no. Refer to that data. Again, go back in the data. That's what I'm telling you. The data is from 2012 to 2016.
this is not based on 2026 data. Okay, so there's no point in arguing with you. I'm showing this data. If
So you're
anybody
opening
thinks
the
that this is
NCDIA.
correct,
What is this page you have opened? What is the page you have opened? This women screened. You trust the government. What is the source for this data? What is the
okay, you
source for
don't
this
trust.
data? Government
So
says no.
okay,
Government
okay,
says they have
please.
provided 2 crore jobs. They have to give some evidence. We have filed RTI for this also. By the way, they haven't
So
responded.
have they given the data of providing 2 crore jobs?
No, they haven't. So that's
Have
why
they
we don't trust
published?
them. That's why we don't trust them.
Have
You
they
don't trust
published
the
it
government
anywhere?
just like that.
Has the government published it anywhere that they have given 2 crore jobs?
No, I didn't look into it. But
Okay,
if the
so you
government
don't,
told me,
if
then I
it is
would look
not there,
into
you're
it.
saying you have not looked into
I
it.
would not blindly trust the government. I would not blindly trust the government.
Yes, I'm
Yes.
I'm
So
also saying
just pasting numbers,
don't trust
government
anybody
is saying they
blindly.
have.
Don't trust anybody blindly. Don't
Yes,
trust
I'm
anybody
asking for
blindly.
data. If there is no
But
data, let's not discuss this. There's no point. There's no data.
this
This is
is the
just an update
data.
from the government.
Okay, please let me tell this for the benefit of audience. I'm not here to convince you or to fight with you. I'm just here to show the audience what is the reality, and then they can judge themselves, right? That I hope that's fair enough. I mean, you post lots of things, and it's up to people what they want to believe or not. Same is here. So, okay, the 2 crore jobs which JC mentioned, government might be saying that, but they have not published it anywhere. This is something which government has published on the website of Ministry of Health and Family Welfare. So there is a big difference between the job scenario and this scenario.
Yeah.
So just see, this is 8.7 crore women were screened for cervical cancer, and out of that, 93,000 cases were
There's no
diagnosed.
data. There's
And
no
this is
data,
from
guys.
23rd
There's no
March
data. There is no data.
2026.
This is a completely rubbish update from the government. We have filed a RTI for this. On what basis is
Okay.
government saying
So
this?
let's see
Yeah,
when
this is
they reply
complete
to the
gibberish
RTI.
data. This is made up data. This is not actual data.
Okay.
Government was also saying that cervical cancer cases are these many and there are these many deaths. When we filed the RTI, they told us go to Globocon. When we went to Globocon, they said 2B, 3C. 3C literally says no data. Okay, so you can't trust
Okay.
the government. You can't trust the government.
Okay.
You have to look
So
at the data
anybody
for
who
yourself.
doesn't wants to trust, it's up to them. Let it be. I'm showing what the government has published
Yeah,
actually,
it's just
right?
fake numbers. There's no data.
Okay.
There's no data. Where's the base data?
Okay.
How have you
And
screened these women? When did you screen them? Where's the raw data?
this
Where's the
one,
data? There's no data. There's
this
just
NCDA
fake
data,
numbers.
is this also fake?
These are the registry data. You can verify this
Yeah.
data.
So
Yeah, but this
is
is
this
incidence numbers, and look how many numbers are those. Those are like annually some 25,
so
26,000
just tell me,
numbers.
just tell one thing. Is this actual data or this is also made up number?
This is registry data, which is coming from 28 registries, and you can see 21,700 something cases. Right?
21.
This is
Okay.
individual independent registry data.
Okay, you can keep fighting. There is no point. This is
No,
actually registry
this is a
data.
160.
This is
This is
actual
an
registry
entire.
data.
Yeah, you still believe in this data because this makes sense because this data has visualization. This data has you can track this data. You can do a
So
pattern recog and you can find
let
out that
me
this data is
let us discuss about this data. Okay,
okay.
this data makes some sense, right? So this is cervix uteri, and
Yeah,
obviously it is
page
not
number
in
two.
males. In
Yes,
females, in 2016, 67,000, and they projected it to
estimated
2025.
sir, estimated वही तो मैं आपको बोल रहा हूँ कि वो पूरा estimated है उसके नीचे आप पढ़ो तो सही वहां पे स्टार में लिखा हुआ है this is estimated.
I am telling this is star की जरूरत नहीं है, यहाँ ऊपर ही लिखा है projection of cancer cases.
Then
So very
why वही तो मैं बोल रहा हूँ कि वहाँ प्रोजेक्शन किस बेसिस पे जब आपके अर्लियर ईयर्स में द नंबर्स आर गोइंग डाउन तो आप प्रेडिक्ट क्यों कर रहे हो उसको बढ़ने के लिए. When
going
it is
down, the
already
reason
decreasing,
I
16 out
have
of
I
28
have
registries
I
are
have
showing a
told you
declining
multiple
trend.
times. I have told you multiple times the reason of incidence is going down and still the actual numbers increasing. Either you're not understanding that or you don't want to understand or acknowledge that. It's up to you and it's up to the audience. If you screen just 2% of people, even if the incidence is actually going down, the number of cases when you screen more, it will be much higher.
So
So
you
I
are
mean,
saying 2012, when they were screening
2016,
less, they had
yeah.
more numbers. In 2016, when they were screening more, the numbers were less. ये तो आप जो बोल रहे हो
No,
उसके
no,
opposite हो
I'm
रहा है
not
ना?
saying.
With more
I'm not
screening, you
saying
should
that.
have more numbers.
Don't twist the words. I'm not saying that. If you have not understood, let me clarify you once again. So just suppose if there was a population of 1,000 people. Just I'm telling this for simplification. If there were 1,000 women in India in 2016 and they screen 2%, so 2% of 1,000 is 20. So if you screen 20 women and in that if you will find suppose 5 women to be having cervical cancer and in subsequent
I
years that was
understand.
it.
With more
Let me
screening,
finish. Please let me finish. Please let me finish. So in 2016, if 5 women were diagnosed to be having cervical cancer, and in future years, like in 2020 or in 2026, if the incidence decreases, like suppose if you screen 2% of women and it will give you instead of 5, 4 women positive with cervical cancers. But when you screen 10%, suppose out of 1,000, so you will be screening 100 women and with basic math calculation, instead of 4, you will get 40 women. So in 2016, you were screening 2% population and you were getting 5 women with cervical cancer. In 2025, the cancer incidence is actually decreasing. But when you screen 10% instead of 2%, you will get the number to be 40. So incidence is decreasing, but instead of 5, you are getting 40. Very
let me
simplified.
ask you a
If
very
you don't
simple question,
understand,
sir, because you have
yeah,
already taken 30 minutes and you are still not
yeah.
letting me
But
speak.
you are I mean pondering on the
I'm
same
asking
point
you
again and
simple
again.
questions. I'm asking you
Yeah,
simple
ask,
questions that you're
please,
not
please,
answering.
please
What was
ask.
the incidence rate in 1982 in India? What was
I
the
don't know.
cervical cancer incident
I
rate
don't know
in
about
1982?
1982. I don't know
What
about
was the cervical
1982.
cancer rate in 2000?
So how does that matters? Just tell me. You will be saying okay,
Because
the incidence decrease because of sanitation, right?
do you believe that over a period of time screening has increased?
Of course,
Do you believe that over a period of time screening has increased? Do you
of
believe
course,
that, let's say in
it has
1982, if
increased.
you're
It's
screening,
nothing to be
yeah, yeah,
believed.
yeah, let me finish. If in 1982 we were doing less screening, we are doing more screening in, let's say, 2000, and we are doing more screening in 2020. Do you believe that?
Yes, yes,
Right now we have data from the period. We have data from 1980s where we had less screening,
right,
and we have now data which has more screening. So
right.
technically, with more screening, the incidences should go up or down.
So you are twisting the
Should
facts.
it
Let
go
me
up
clear.
or down?
No,
Should
no, no.
it should it
It's
go
not.
up or down? I'm asking you a
It's
very
not
simple
that
question.
simple. From 1982 to 2016 and those years, incidents they reduced because of improved sanitation
But
and better
aren't you
sexual
saying that we are
practices.
screening more so the incident should go up? You only said if you are screening more the incident should go up. Then why is it going down?
I have very well clarified this with the example. If you didn't understand that example, let's leave it. People are also watching. They have
No, no,
also
no.
listened to
Let's
this
not leave it.
example.
I asked you a fairly simple question. You said with
So
more
I
screening the incidences go up. Then why have the incidences gone
number
down?
of people will increase. You will find more number of people when you screen more.
Correct. So incidences will go up. Correct?
Yeah.
Then why have the incidences gone down? That's what I'm asking you. From 1980s to 2016, why have the incidences gone down? That's my
Okay.
simple
So
question.
let me show my first slide once again, which again maybe you missed. So compared to
I don't think
previous
anybody
year,
is missing anything,
cervical
sir.
cancer
You are not
incidence is
answering a simple
decreasing
question.
because of improved genital hygiene and safer sexual habits. So the incidence decreased because of these things.
Hmm.
But still, even today,
Right.
number of
Right.
cervical cancers are very, very high, and this is
Yeah.
a public health problem. So
Yeah.
yes,
So
numbers have decreased,
numbers have
incidence has
decreased
decreased.
despite. Despite,
Sorry,
despite,
despite
despite
what?
higher screenings, despite more screenings, the numbers have decreased.
So again, I mean, I don't think
Again,
you're
again, again,
understanding.
again. Think properly. Think
Cancer
again. Come
incidence
on.
is decreasing. Yes, incidence is
Despite,
decreasing
despite,
despite more
despite.
screening. Yes,
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 yes. Despite more
yes,
screening, the incidence is decreasing. What does this tell
yes.
you? What does it tell you?
This tells us that cervical cancer or any disease doesn't depends on just one factor like vaccine or any one factor. Incidence decreased. Initially, incidence decreased mainly because of better genital hygiene, better sexual practices, and even after that, the burden of cervical cancer is still very high.
Very nice.
So
Now let's
we have
assume
to
the
reduce
burden of
that also.
cervical cancer. So now let's assume the burden of cervical cancer is high. So we
Yeah.
must have some data to suggest that the burden of cervical cancer is
So
high.
this is the
What does the
data
data
which
suggest? What does the
this
data
is the
suggest?
data this is the data
From
that
the
cervical
years,
cancer burden is still very high.
which years are we talking about?
This is
From
from
the years.
2026.
No, no, please. Let's not fake the data. Which data are we talking about
Okay.
here? Let's refer to the actual data. We don't have data from 2026. We are still referring to
So
2012 to 2016 data. That's the data we have.
this is
No, we don't have.
2026 data.
We do not have 2026 data. I challenge you. We are in 2026. It's not possible to have 2026 data. How can you have
This
2026 data?
is the data published by government, and that is all we have. We don't have any other data. I agree on that. I agree on that. And you asked me, being a doctor, do I
Tell
agree
me
that there is
something.
not enough data?
All the doctors who are telling that 125,000 deaths are happening,
I don't know.
125,000
I
cases are
never said
happening.
that.
No, no.
I
How
never
many
said.
cases are happening? You tell me. How many cases are happening for cervical cancer?
I never said or
You tell me how
posted
many
anywhere
cases for
about
cervical
one.
cancer are happening. You tell me how many cases for cervical cancer are happening. How many cases? Give me an estimate. And where's this estimate coming from?
Based on the whatever data is available,
Which
whatever is
data?
available,
Which
I will
data?
say
Which data?
85,000. 85,000
Which data? Which data?
from
Which data are you
NCDIR
referring to?
projected data. It is 85,000.
Which data? Which data?
NCDIR data from
And what
2016
is the what is
projected
the
from
what is
that
the
it is
what is the base
85,000.
data? And what is the base data for this? What
Base
is the
data
base
is
data for this?
47,000.
Base data coming from which years?
2012 to 2016.
Okay, fine. Now hold on to
Yeah.
this thought. Okay, so the
Yes.
base data is coming from 2012 to 2016. And
Right.
what does the incidence rate show? Is it going up or down?
Again, you are confusing between that. Either you are confused or you're confusing the audience. I've clarified this multiple times. I will not go on repeating this. I mean, it's up to you, it's up to the audience,
From
whatever they want to believe.
1980s, despite
Right.
increased screenings, the incidence number is going down. Even in the
I have told
2012 to
this multiple times.
2012 to 2016, the registries, majority of the registries show a declining trend in incidence. But here you are claiming that the burden of cervical cancer remains high. Based on which
Yes.
data? The data,
Yes.
which again goes back to the same base data, which is 2012 to 2016, which actually shows that the burden is going down. And you yourself said that vaccines are not the only reason why the burden is coming down. It has to do
Yes.
with hygiene, it has to do with more
Yes.
screenings, it has to do with other
Yes.
socioeconomic factors. Then why are you pushing for
Yes.
vaccines?
Because all these factors have reduced
How do you
incidence a
know?
lot.
How do you know?
They
How do you
have
know?
reduced
How
the
do you know?
incidence a
How do
lot.
you know? Where's the data? How do you know? Do we have data since the time they have started administering vaccines in the country? When did they start
Yes.
administering vaccines? No, tell me, when did they start administering the vaccines?
In India, I guess 2009 first study was done, which
2000?
was
No,
stopped.
no, 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 no. 2018.
2009 first study was done where tribal women died. That was
Come
in
on, come on. That was
2009.
like a sample study. Very, very, very small
So you said
area.
where they started? It started in
Yeah. So
2009, and I showed that.
that is not
I showed that
vaccination.
study
That was
also.
a testing. That was vaccine testing.
Right.
That's vaccine testing. So when did they actually start? They started this entire Indradhanush and all this program around 2018, and now they have
Right.
started pushing for it. So you don't have the data if the vaccine is actually resulting in decline in incidence rates.
Okay,
You
so
don't have that data.
there's a limit anybody can try to prove. This data also I showed which shows that vaccines have
Which
93 to
data?
95% efficacy. This is from
Against what? Against
Indian
what?
data.
Against what?
Against
Against what?
non-vaccinated people.
No, against what? Cervical cancer.
Yes, against SIN2, SIN3 lesions.
What is Sin2, Sin3 lesion?
Again, also, I think whole 30 minutes you were thinking about something else and you didn't listen to anything. Again, for the benefit of
I
people,
did,
I
I
will
did, I
clarify
did, I
SIN2,
did.
SIN3 lesions. SIN2, SIN3
Yes.
lesions can turn into cervical cancer, but all of them
What is the
don't turn.
progression rate for Sin2 and Sin3 to cervical
I don't
cancer?
know.
And how long does it take?
Let me answer. All
Yeah.
SIN2, SIN3 lesions or SIN1 lesions don't turn into cervical cancer.
What is the progression rate? Please tell me
Okay,
what is the progression rate and
I
how
don't
much is
know.
the time that it takes?
I
Sin
don't
1,
know. I
less
don't know.
than
Let me,
1% progression rate. Sin 2, less than 5% progression rate. Sin 3, around 18 to 30% progression rate.
right,
And from
right.
Sin 3, so from HPV to Sin 1, Sin 2, Sin 3 contact takes a median of 7 to 9 years. And
Yes,
from there, Sin 3 to
yes.
cervical cancer can take up to 10 to 20 years.
That is the reason
So what is
you
the
are not
median length
able
of
to
studies
see
you're talking about?
enough.
What is the median length of the study that you're talking about?
10 years.
10 years. Is this
Yes.
enough? Is the study enough?
They have measured SIN2, SIN3 lesions, not cervical cancer, which I clarified very well. And again, let me clarify: if you don't, uh, I mean, getting SIN2 or SIN3 lesion doesn't mean you will get cervical cancer, but stopping SIN2, SIN3 lesion means you will stop cervical cancer. There is a difference. If you want to understand, it's up to you. So vaccines prevent, they reduce largely SIN2, SIN3 lesions. They have shown that. And if they prevent SIN2, SIN3 lesions, they automatically prevent cervical cancer. That is it.
That is not true, and I'll prove you why.
If
If
somebody doesn't get pre-diabetes, they don't get diabetes. As
No,
simple
that
as
is
that.
not true. That is not true. Let me tell you
That
why.
is true.
If you look at the Swedish study, which is
Hmm.
1.6 million girls, they
Right.
studied how many girls? 1.6 million. Okay.
Yeah.
In the vaccinated group, the incidence rate was 47. In the non-vaccinated cohort, the rate was around 94. Right.
Yes.
So even in the vaccinated cohort, 47 people did get cervical cancer.
Yeah. And that
Yes.
was again you
Yes.
were not listening to all those things.
No. So you are
This
saying
is
that just because somebody
this is the
prevents
Swedish
sin one,
study.
sin two, sin three.
This is a Swedish
No,
study. 47 was among all the vaccinated women, but HPV vaccine works best if you take it before age of first sexual intercourse. So in this study, which you just now quoted, if they evaluated only the girls who took the
so
vaccine before age of 70 years, it was
what's the
0.12, which means 88% efficacy.
sir? You know what's the overall protection duration for the vaccine?
So far, because the vaccination has started
Yeah,
since maybe 10-15 years, so data
precisely.
is till
So
that
the
time.
vaccine
So
has a
so
10 to 15 years protective effects. If you are giving it to a girl,
so far, we will know more as years
again,
pass.
why are we giving benefit of doubt to the
So the
vaccines?
solution is
Why are we giving benefit of doubt to the
if
vaccines?
okay, let me tell you now, because
Yeah.
cervical cancer will not wait for the data. If you think your I mean daughters or any girls in your home, they can wait for 5 or 10 years more. And if you can protect them from having any
No, why
sexual
would I give
intercourse
them
for next
vaccine?
5 to 10 years,
Why would I give them vaccine? The
please wait
data
for
is
that data.
data is horrible.
If you can stop
There is
your
scamming data.
daughters from having any sexual intercourse for next 5 to 10 years, please wait for that data. You might get better data after 5 to 10 years. Maybe the vaccine stopped working. Maybe efficacy is not that much. So yes, please wait for 5 years, 10 years,
You're making
20
a lot of
years.
assumptions based on hollow data. Okay,
You
based on
are
hollow
making
data.
assumptions. You are making assumption
Which
that
assumption?
vaccine
Tell me
durability is
which
15
assumption.
years.
Sir, please tell me which assumption have I made? Which assumption have I made? Tell me one assumption that I have made. Please tell me.
Okay, so from the last session itself, you have been posting that NNT is 2200. That is factually wrong and assumption.
No, it is
NNH
not
is
factually wrong.
1300.
It is not
NNH
factually wrong.
1300 is
No,
absolutely wrong.
I posted
Either you didn't
2200 for
study,
overall. Are you denying
either
this
you didn't
vaccine
read.
for? Are you denying this vaccine for kids, women who are above the age of 16, 17? Are you
No,
saying this vaccine? Then
but the
let's not let's
vaccination program is for women
no
from 9 to 14.
no. Then mention it specifically that this
It is
vaccine is
mentioned.
only for girls
It is
below the age of
mentioned.
16.
No,
Do not give it to.
it is not only. It is not only. It is that they are best effective when taken in that age group.
But
But
that does
even if
not
you
mean
take,
that you're not giving it to other women, right? So which means when I
let
gave
me
you
tell
the
you why.
number NNT
Let
of
me tell you why.
2200,
So let me tell you why.
yeah.
It is not that they can't be given to women who are beyond 17 years. The thing is, if you take it beyond 17 years, or basically it's about first sexual
But
intercourse.
how does
Age
that
is
make
just
me
an
assume the
estimation.
data? When I said the NNT is
Okay,
2200, how is that an
let me
assumption?
finish. Let me finish. So if you take it beyond age of 17 years or 15 years or after first sexual intercourse, then the vaccine efficacy will be lesser. It doesn't mean it will be 100% effective or it will not be effective at all. But if you have already got HPV infection, the vaccine will be less effective. That is it.
How does
So
that how does that prove that I'm assuming the data? Because the NNT is 2200 based on you're giving vaccines to everybody.
So maybe you are okay if you are not assuming, maybe you didn't read the study properly, or
I
maybe
did read the study.
you didn't
I
understand.
read the study. I
So
read the study.
have
You're
you
giving the
posted?
vaccine to everybody. You're giving the vaccine to everybody. Women of all ages are taking the vaccine. So then why
So
are you
we
only
should we
assuming NNT numbers for
so
little girls?
Okay, so just let us just see if given before age of 17 years, the vaccine has 88% efficacy, and if given beyond that, the vaccine has suppose 60% efficacy. So should we deny 60% efficacy to
No,
other
no,
women?
you said that I'm making an
Should we
assumption
deny
that NNT is
60%?
2200. Is that an
Should we
assumption?
deny 60% efficacy to other women?
I asked you a simple question. You said I'm assuming.
I
You
answered
said
that.
my assumption was 2200 was an assumption. How is that an assumption? Please prove to me. How was that an assumption?
Okay. Let me clarify. It was not an assumption, but it was
Thank you.
misguidance.
It was
It
not
was
misguidance
misguidance.
either. It
It
was
was
not.
misguidance.
See,
You should
if
have
you're going
clarified.
to challenge
You
my
should have.
data, then you
You should
prove it.
have.
No, no, prove it. Prove it.
Yeah,
Prove it
I'm
100
proving
was misguidance.
in your post you should have clarified that this 2200 NNT is for every woman, and if you take it in the actual age group where it is intended to provide maximum benefit, the NNT is much lesser. But you
Well,
didn't
I
mention
don't
that.
see any guidelines
Even
which are saying only women below the age of 16 and 17 should take the vaccine.
sorry, can
So
you
why
repeat?
would I assume that the vaccine is only limited to that age group?
Can
If
you repeat?
all women are taking the vaccines, then
Can
NNT
you repeat?
essentially becomes 2200.
Can you repeat, please?
I said, when I posted NNT is 2200, there is no such guideline which says that the vaccine is only for girls below the age of 16 or 17, right? It is for
But
everybody. Everybody
this
is
is
being
not a
mandated to
guideline,
vaccine.
but there is enough information even in this study or anywhere. I mean, anybody who starts reading about HPV, you have been reading about
Yeah.
HPV
So
since
then
so long, and
2200,
you're
NNT
posting
of
about it.
2200 is not wrong.
It
It
is
is not very
everywhere.
guidance also. It
It
is
is
not
everywhere very well mentioned that these are best effective if taken before that age group. I mean, maybe you didn't read
then
that.
don't give it to women above the age of 17, 18 if you have a
So
problem with NNT.
60% efficacy is zero. And why not give them the 60% chance of protecting from cervical cancer?
Then what's the
I mean,
problem in me mentioning,
if they
if you are
missed
giving it to
before,
them, then what is the problem in mentioning NNT as 2200? How is
that
that
is
misguided?
misleading. Unless you
How?
mention that
How?
NNT
How?
in the intended
Yes,
age group
it's
is
2200.
no, it's not 2200 in the
But I
intended
didn't
age group.
say intended age group. I said NNT is
Yeah.
2200.
So that
NNT
again,
is 2200.
hiding information is like misleading
It's not
only.
hiding
You
information. No, of course not.
no,
I didn't hide it.
you did it. You did it
I don't think
deliberately.
I don't think anybody.
Show me your any post where you have mentioned that if taken in the exact age group where it is mentioned. Even the government's
Well,
program, even
it
the
is not
program you
mentioned that you
said
have to take it for a particular age group when
it is
everybody is
mentioned.
being forced this vaccine. They are even giving these vaccines to boys. They are giving these
Yes,
vaccines to boys.
because boys have
Zero
penis
study
and
in
they
boys.
have anus
Zero
and they
study in
have
boys.
oral cavity and they have larynx and
Zero
oropharynx.
studies in boys. Zero studies in
Yeah.
men and boys.
So the studies is in girls because the incidence is
And why
more
are you
common
giving it to
in
boys?
women,
Why are you giving it to boys?
because there are studies which have proven that
मजा आया
HPV
मजा
infection
आ रहा
can
है
cause
लड़कों को
these
दे दिया तो
cancers.
लड़कों को भी दे दिया
So if the vaccines are effective against HPV infection, thereby preventing cervical cancer, they will obviously be effective in boys also if they get HPV infection and the other cancers, because they don't have cervix, they won't get cervical cancer, but they have anus, they have penis, they have oral cavity, they can get those cancers very
But we
clearly
have no
mentioned.
data. This is just a bad assumption, similar to the assumption that
Right.
despite the registry numbers going down, we are assuming the incidences are
So
going to go up.
again, you are back to that same thing, which I have very well clarified.
We don't have, again,
Anyways,
you talked about, yeah, okay, fine. We can move forward. Point
yeah,
being, guys, look, you want to listen to Dr. Nikhil, go ahead, stick all the HPV vaccines in yourself, your kids and boys and men, even to your grandparents. I don't have any problem.
and since
I
26 March we
Yeah.
did last session, have you? I mean, you have made so many posts. Have you made even
I'm
a
on a
single
different
post?
trajectory, sir. Have you seen what I'm doing? I'm
Have you
unearthing
made
the
a? Have
scams
you
of
made even a
WHO.
single post about
I have
cancer
not made a
screening?
single post on health and fitness.
Okay,
My posts are all about exposing WHO. Have you seen that?
right, right. Yeah, I have
Yes.
seen.
So I'm in a
I have
completely
seen.
different this thing. I'm on a exposing. What do you say? Yeah,
Right.
on a different this thing altogether.
And based
Tangent
again
altogether.
based on hypothetical thing. I mean, there's no proper data to prove all that. Anyways, I don't want to delve
Sorry
into that.
again. Look,
That is not my area of
if you are
expertise.
going to make that
That is
claim,
not my area of
no,
interest.
if you are going to make
I'm
that claim, you will have to prove those claims. So I would
okay.
suggest that
I
you be very careful.
apologize. I apologize. I don't want to discuss that part.
Sure.
Okay. So just to conclude in one sentence, I have shown enough information about efficacy of HP vaccines and that they don't do any significant harms, which was also, I mean, again, I would say it was misled last time. Either you
Uh,
didn't study the Lars analysis properly, or you didn't
I think you
understand,
don't
or you
understand.
didn't. So did you?
I
Did
don't think
you? I
you
mean,
understand how studies are done, sir. With all due respect, let me tell you,
did you
you can.
clarified about Lars NNH?
I'll tell you now. I can tell you right
Mm-hmm.
now.
Tell
First of
me,
all, you
tell
have
us.
to understand that all the studies that Lars used, one of the things that you mentioned was that
Yeah,
Lars did not do the studies. That's exactly
yeah,
what a systematic review or a meta-analysis is. They don't do
yes,
the studies. They actually pool
yes.
the RCTs. So
I
they have been
clarified
done.
it for the understanding of people. I know that.
Yes, yes.
Yeah,
So they looked at all the studies, 22 odd studies, with some of the landmark studies like the future trials and other trials, and
right,
understand that these studies were done primarily for efficacy endpoints, not for safety endpoints. And when
right.
Lars reached out to these guys, they did not provide him the data. Okay, so
So
he
you should
had to
have told
go.
that. You
Yeah, I'm
should have
telling you.
told
So
that
he
instead of
he
claiming.
had to go to the registry, and registry has a
Yes,
more accurate data. And you also were confused that hey, the registry, the data did not have PIIs. Nobody gives you PIIs. Okay, you always give data after removing the personal identifiable information. Okay, so there's nothing wrong with
right.
that. And so Lars had to do a
I didn't
hard
say
work.
anything wrong. I
No,
said
you
about the
said the data
conclusion
is
made.
not there. No,
I
the
said the
data
conclusion
isn't
was
supposed to
made.
be there.
I said the conclusion was made on that basis. The number
Which is
of
completely
harms.
fine. That's how they do it. If you are applying
Okay,
the same kind of no, if you are
okay.
applying the same rationale to the side effects, then why are you not applying the same rationale to
Did
efficacy?
you clarify that part in any of your posts or any of your video that NNH is explore? I mean, you literally talked
Sorry,
about
what?
GBS
No, no.
in last
What?
session.
Go ahead.
NNH,
Huh.
NNH, NNH of
Yes.
the vaccines. You quoted
Yes.
that 1300 is NNH. Have you
Yes.
clarified in any of your posts or any of your videos that this was exploratory analysis and there were no
Do you
actual cases
understand the
of
meaning of exploratory analysis? Do you
do
understand the
you
incidence?
clarify? Okay,
Did
I
you
don't
understand the
understand
actual
anything.
incidences? How many subjects did the study pool? The last meta-analysis, you've gone through the study recently, right? Tell me how many
Yes,
subjects did they actually pool? It was some 90,000 odd subjects, right?
90,000, right?
Yes. So what were the hard incidences? I'm looking at actual numbers.
Yeah.
Look at actual numbers. If you have the study in front of you, let's forget the percentage. How many people
Hmm.
had neurological disorders in the So
Uh,
sorry, I got a call. How many people had neurological disorders in the vaccinated cohort, and how many people had neurological disorders in the unvaccinated cohort? Can you read those numbers to me?
Zero.
It was it was 40 against 72. Sorry, 72 against 40, which means that
Okay,
people in the
that
vaccinated cohort had roughly 70 people who developed neurological disorders and roughly
no,
40
no.
people
That
unvaccinated cohort.
nobody actually developed neurological disorder. That was based on
I mean,
Medra. I will show.
look at the paper. It's
Okay.
there. It's all there.
I
It's all
will
there.
I will show.
Yeah.
let me.
And please do understand that they had to work extra hard because none of the studies that they pulled in this
Yes,
review actually were tracking safety endpoints. They only
I
tracked
mentioned that.
efficacy.
I
Yes.
mentioned that very clearly.
Yeah.
So yeah, so this is the actual number of harms they
Yeah.
found in the study.
I can't see it. Yeah. Look at the
Those
MedDRA
those
number.
46,
Okay.
those 46 and 72 were derived from MEDRA terms, not the actual people getting any harms.
No, no,
So
no, 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 no,
there's a
no, no, no,
difference.
no, no, no. So when the studies are done, they actually do not report harms. So that's what Lars did. He used the MedDRA code to map those harms to this because when they report harms, they pool all the harms together. They don't classify them as neurological harms or fatal
Yeah,
harms.
so if
Correct?
somebody
Yeah.
got
Okay.
these kinds of symptoms, they were
Yes.
labeled as having neurological harms.
Yes, so I
Yeah,
completely, totally, the first part, which is headache, nausea, pyrexia, and dizziness, this was completely removed, right? So the serious incidences and serious adverse harms are what we are talking about. We are talking about fatal harms and we are talking about serious neurological disorders.
yeah,
Yes. So we are not
yes.
talking about the general SEs, the ones that you're talking about headache, nausea, pyrexia, and these things. We are not talking about this. We are talking about serious
The
neurological
neurological,
disorders.
serious neurological disorders were based on these terms data collected from this. I
Yes,
mean,
yes.
again,
So
maybe you are
those
not
were
paying enough
roughly,
attention.
no, no. So those were 72 cases, 72 cases of neurological disorders in the vaccinated
They,
group against 40 cases
they were
in the
not the
unvaccinated.
actual, they were not like 72 people didn't have CRPS or POTS, and 46 didn't have CRPS or POTS. That was again derived from if somebody has having these symptoms, they were labeled to be having POTS or CRPS, and that was 46 in vaccinated and in sorry in
No, no,
unvaccinated.
opposite.
Yeah,
Yes.
46 in
Less in
unvaccinated and
unvaccinated and more in vaccinated cohorts.
yes,
And you understand why
yes.
the studies never labeled them? It is not large responsibility. It was the responsibility of the companies that carried out the studies. They
Yes,
didn't label.
so the study was not perfect. The harms data was not perfect. That doesn't mean okay, you can say based on wrong data or based on improper data, you can't say okay, NNH is 1300. That is also misleading.
No. How
I
is that
agree the
misleading?
data was not proper. I agree the harms, incidence, and reporting was not proper. But that
In
means
which
the
studies?
harms
In which
could
studies?
be
In which
more.
studies?
It could be more. It could be less.
In
But
which
that
studies? In which studies the safety data was not properly reported? Please tell me. In which studies the safety data was not proper?
in all the studies which he got.
In all the studies that he got, they did not do proper safety reporting.
Yes,
Would you agree to
yes,
that? They should
yes.
have done or
I
not?
again when we end the session,
Should they have done that or not?
you can watch the session from beginning, the initial 30 minutes which you probably missed. I have spoken about that.
Should they have done or not?
Yes,
Yes. So
absolutely.
if they didn't
Yes,
do it, and Lars did an
yes.
exploratory analysis and he found actual
No, not
incidences.
actual incidents.
Even
Again,
for sir, even let's forget the neurological. You find the incidences of fatal harm. Go ahead, check the incidences of fatal harm. Now, fatal harm is not symptom,
fatal
right?
harms
There
were
is fatal.
almost equal in both
Almost no,
vaccinated
no,
as
no.
well as
Don't
non.
say almost equal. Read the actual
So
number of incidences. How many people died in
I
the unvaccinated group and vaccinated group?
I'll show you.
Yeah.
I'll show you. That was in the first. Uh, okay. So did not. Okay, let me.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's in the
So
go
did
go
not
go on.
significantly increase fatal harms. 45
Number
versus 38.
yes, 45 in the
Yes,
vaccinated group.
vaccinated and 38
Yes.
in unvaccinated.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes.
yes.
Right?
Nobody
So
is
more
denying
people
that.
died
But
in the vaccinated group. More
yes,
people died in the vaccinated group.
yes,
Correct?
more. Yes,
That
but
proves
how
nothing.
many more? I mean, the author
Again,
himself is saying it is not significant, and about the fatal harms and the serious
I
harms.
agree it is not significant, but please
Yes.
understand what kind of studies is he relying on? Because you are not ready to understand the studies themselves didn't report safety incidents properly. The guy
But that
did a
doesn't
pooled analysis of all the
but
studies.
that doesn't validate the NNH of 1300 also.
It literally mentions it there. The study
that
itself
is
mentions
that is from
there.
exploratory analysis, and
Yeah, but
he
it
has also,
mentions there.
he
It
has
mentions.
literally mentioned himself that
So
these were
tell
the
me something.
problems in
So
the
this is
study.
very interesting. Okay, you never
Yeah,
measure cervical cancer endpoints. You assume that it prevents against cervical
incidence,
cancer
not
because you are looking at
mortality,
secondary endpoints, and
incidence.
for that you
Yeah,
are perfectly fine to extrapolate those values. You are fine to extrapolate that these vaccines, even though they have never been tested in boys, will
right,
protect the boys also. But you
right.
have a problem in looking at the data which does not report proper safety signals, and Lars did an exploratory analysis, and we have hard incidences which shows that more people are dying in the vaccinated cohort, but you're like, okay, this is problematic. Wow, fantastic.
So yeah, uh, the author himself said, not did not significantly increase fatal harms, 45 versus 38, and the
Yeah,
p value is 0.58 in that.
sure.
That is also, I suppose, it's has some significance
Yeah,
or not. Okay. Anyways, I think this is never ending thing. We have both presented uh,
sure.
things, and let the audience decide for themselves they want to get the vaccine or not. So uh, can we move on to the next thing?
I actually have to go and pick my daughter because there's no one to
Okay.
pick her.
Okay, no problem. I mean, that is fair enough. So there's a lot more things which I wanted to discuss, and they were important about healthcare and sick care, and why people should take statins. I mean, you say statins are not good enough; they don't have good data and ARR, RRR.
Yeah.
So I guess this kind of online live session is not much useful the way it happened today. So I'll post the things on my profile itself. I will not use your platform as you mentioned in the beginning. So if
I
anybody
don't
is
have any problem with
interested,
you using
if
the platform, sir. It's
if
about like
anybody is
the values
interested in knowing,
you
if anybody is interested in knowing why statins are important and who should take them or who should not take them, again, these are not for everybody. Some people need them, but those who need them, actually, if they don't take statins or any medicine, they will cause harm to themselves. And obviously, not everybody with the slightly raised LDL or slightly raised blood pressure should directly go to the medicines. Initially, lifestyle is the most important thing, and it will always remain the most important thing. Even if you have to start on medicines, lifestyle is still very, very important. But yeah, there is a confusion of statins. And ARR and RRR thing was also again very not properly told by you. I will make videos and on those things. So let people decide, and that's all. Thank you.
Sure, sounds good. Again, my problem is that when you came in, we thought it was going to be a discussion, and from 8 o'clock till 8:28, you went on a full monologue,
Yeah, and you
and
didn't listen there, so
we didn't have a discussion, sir. We didn't have a
you
discussion. You just went on
you
and
you
on.
were not even listening. You were like totally absent, kind of.
I tried
I
to
don't.
do this 3 times.
Yeah,
You can go back and watch my video. I did this 3 times, and so probably you were not paying attention to when I was
I
doing
I
something.
was
I didn't want to be rude there, so you just went on and on and on.
okay.
And,
Okay, so you
yeah,
okay. Anyways, so let us see. So thank you
sure,
so
sounds good.
much.
Have a
Thank
great day, sir.
you everybody
Bye.
for listening, and that's all. I'll post all the links whatever I have discussed today in my profile.
Sure,
Thank you.
sounds good. Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
Thank you.